And here is the Writer's Almanac for Wednesday, the 11th of September, 2019. It's the birthday of William Sidney Porter, better known by his pen name O. Henry, born Greensboro, North Carolina, 1862. He was a young man living in Texas when he was convicted of embezzlement at the bank where he worked, and he was sent to federal prison. He served 3 years in prison, didn't want anybody to know about it, told his daughter he'd been away on business. One of his best-known stories, The Ransom of Red Chief, the story of two small-time cooks, Bill and Sam, who kidnap a wealthy young boy from Alabama. They ask for ransom, but the boy's father refuses because the boy's father knows that his son is a handful. And he is, and he makes the kidnappers' lives miserable. And in the end, they have to pay the father to take the son back. The Gift of the Magi, another famous story of O. Henry's, young married couple, Jim and Della. It's Christmas time. Della has beautiful long hair, which Jim is so fond of, and Jim has a gold watch that his grandfather had given him. They don't have much money. They want to give each other a wonderful gift for Christmas. So Jim ends up pawning the watch to buy his wife combs for her hair, and at the same time Della sells her hair for enough money to buy her husband a fob chain for his watch. And one of O. Henry's lesser-known stories, The Furnished Room, the story of a young man who rents a dingy room in a boarding house in Manhattan. He's been looking for the girl he loves who has disappeared. He thinks she may have lived in this room that he rents because he can smell her perfume. He asks the housekeeper if she has seen a beautiful girl with a mole on her left eyebrow, and the housekeeper says no. The young man locks himself up in the room. The scent of the perfume of his loved one gradually disappears. He seals off the room with strips of bed sheets, lies down, and kills himself by turning on the gas. And the story ends with the housekeeper explaining to a friend of hers that she rented a room to a young man that day, but because she didn't want to discourage him from renting, she didn't tell him that a young girl had killed herself turning on the gas in that same room 1 week before, a girl with a mole on her left eyebrow. Here's a poem by Joyce Sutphen, Things You Didn't Put on Your Resume. How often you got up in the middle of the night when one of your children had a bad dream. And sometimes you woke because you thought you heard a cry, but they were all sleeping. So you stood in the moonlight, just listening to their breathing, and you didn't mention that you were an expert at putting toothpaste on tiny toothbrushes and bending down to wiggle the toothbrush 10 times on each tooth while you sang the words to songs from Annie. And who would suspect that you know the fingerings to the songs in the first 4 books of the Suzuki violin method, and that you can do the voices of Pooh and Piglet especially well, though your absolute favorite thing to read out loud is Bedtime for Francis, and that you picked up your way of reading it from Glynis Johns, and it is, now that you think of it, rather impressive that you read all of Narnia and all of the Ring trilogy, and others too many to mention here, to them before they went to bed. And on the way out to Yellowstone, which is another thing you don't put on the resume, how you took them to the ocean and the mountains and brought them safely home. A poem by Joyce Sutphen, Things You Didn't Put on Your Resume, from her collection Carrying Water to the Field, New and Selected Poems, published by University of Nebraska Press and used by permission here on the Writer's Almanac. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.